We find ourselves in the age of hyperconnectivity, a period in which immediate access to information appears to democratize knowledge. However, this apparent democratization carries a risk. Are we gaining greater understanding, or merely fragmenting our attention? Are we developing critical thinking, or instead, succumbing to information overload and the immediacy of the superficial? Throughout this analysis, we will examine how social media impacts cognitive capacity, critical judgment, and mental well-being from a philosophical and neuroscientific perspective. 1. Cognitive fragmentation, the crisis of sustained attention. Heidegger warned about the age of technology, a period dominated by speed and immediacy. Today, social media capitalizes on the attention economy, turning it into a resource fought over by algorithms designed to maximize user retention. The consequence is the fragmentation of concentration, reducing the depth of reflective thought. Various studies have identified a decline in sustained attention capacity, attributed to prolonged exposure to highly dynamic and ephemeral information flows. Brain plasticity responds to these stimuli by restructuring neural networks, favoring more immediate but less analytical processing patterns. Baudrillard defined the concept of hyperreality, in which symbolic representation replaces reality itself. In this context, social media constitutes a simulation of interactions and experiences, facilitating a progressive disconnection from introspection and the construction of critical knowledge. 2. Critical thinking at risk, the proliferation of post-truth. Critical thinking requires time and analysis. Socrates promoted the Socratic method as a rational inquiry technique, but the digital age rewards immediate response over measured reflection. In this scenario, post-truth and discursive manipulation thrive. Algorithms reinforce cognitive polarization by prioritizing content that reaffirms pre-existing beliefs. This creates echo chambers that hinder exposure to alternative perspectives and weaken the ability to evaluate information objectively. Epistemological pragmatism suggests that truth is not an absolute concept but a construct subject to social validation. However, the mass dissemination of sensationalist narratives without empirical verification has weakened traditional truth criteria in public discourse. 3. Psychological well-being and the paradox of connectivity. Social media presents itself as a space for interaction and belonging, but its architecture fosters a state of social hypervigilance. Dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward, plays a crucial role in addiction to digital validation. Behavioral neuroscience research has found correlations between intensive social media use and increased affective disorders. Constant comparison with unrealistic life standards reinforces dissatisfaction and psychological distress. Kierkegaard described existential angst as the confrontation with freedom and responsibility. Paradoxically, hyperconnectivity amplifies this anxiety by continually confronting us with the need for external validation. 4. Philosophical strategies for reclaiming cognitive autonomy. While social media has transformed our interactions, philosophical thought offers tools to reclaim cognitive autonomy. Stoicism emphasizes self-control and emotional moderation. Applied to the digital context, it involves consciously setting limits on information consumption and developing introspective habits. Practices of mindfulness and digital minimalism help reduce cognitive overload, restoring deep analysis and critical reflection capabilities. Conclusion: towards a conscious relationship with technology. Social media is not inherently harmful, but its indiscriminate use can erode concentration and critical thinking. Philosophy reminds us that genuine knowledge is not measured by the quantity of information consumed, but by the depth with which it is processed and understood. In a world where attention is the most contested resource, will we be passive consumers of content or protagonists of our own critical reflection?